Hello everyone! Today I'm adding to my collection of Poppy Playtime toys with Yarnaby. There was a quick sneak peek and now we're gonna get straight into it with first making the head. I did make it before just to see if it would work, and I did decide that pattern was too small, so I made this pattern here and I'm just gonna cut that out of the fabric. This pattern is very simple, like really simple. You just gotta cut 2 half circles out of the fabric, then slap them together. I used a back stitch to sew these 2 pieces together since it's actually the strongest stitch I know, like the hand stitch. And then I just stuff the head to make sure that it looks good. And it does. So I just slap the back piece of fabric onto it, which is really just a circle that I just traced from this. Though first, of course, I do take out the stuffing because it would get in the way of it. Then I sew the back on and restuff it. Once the head is stuffed, I mark out where the mouth is going to be and then cut these pieces, these little white triangles, out of felt for the teeth. I use fabric glue to stick them on because at this size stitching would be super obvious, and also it was a lot faster. Also, I am going to actually embroider the mouth on, not just leave it drawn on with pencil like this. Before I set that aside to dry, I also cut out 2 circles out of felt, the same felt I used on the teeth, and also glue those on. These are going to be for the eyes. I was originally going to do them with cabochons, like I did for Huggy Wuggy, a long time ago at this point. But 1, they weren't big enough, and 2, I didn't really want to have plastic or glass on this plushie. And now here you can see me getting my black embroidery thread going in from the back and embroidering on the mouth. I would like you to keep in mind, I've never done embroidery before. I've done a little bit of cross stitch in my free time. Not a lot, but a little. So yeah, I literally just used a back stitch for this thing that I found in a YouTube short. But with that, the head is done. And now I can move on to making the body. I use the exact same fabric, obviously. And then I cut on the seam a cylinder shape, so one side is together, but for the rest I do have to stitch that together. I also use a back stitch for this like I did for the head pieces. It's just the exact same process of sewing it, turning it inside out, or right side out I should say, and then stuffing it. Right now it looks kind of like a corn dog, so we're gonna fix that and add some legs. I'm only going to show you 1 leg because it's literally the same process for all 4. I take this half circle of the paw fabric and then a rectangle of the yellow fabric and just sew those together. And I make 2 of those for each leg and put those together. Also, I am aware that this is not how Yarnaby's paws look in-game and that they actually have segmented toes. But honestly, that is not my level of expertise, and I didn't want to spend all that time wrestling with fabric paws. I hope you guys will forgive me, but in the end it does come out looking like Yarnaby. I repeat that whole process until I have 4 legs, and then I use a ladder stitch to attach them onto the body. Now the base body is done, and before I sew the head onto the body, I am first going to sew on all the yarn because it's actually going to make it a lot easier, which is why I also made the legs before doing all the yarn because it's just going to be way easier this way. I went out and got all this nice yarn, all the leftover yarn is now in my stash. I think I'm making a nice rainbow scarf with it too. I use this little cardboard thing here. Yeah, there we are. It's actually what I use to measure out doll hair when I make yarn wefts. It's really just that same cutting process, except, you know, without gluing it on, because I am going to sew all of this on. I divide the back of the head into separate parts, and then I start sewing on the colors one at a time, just like this. I don't know why I said it like that. This is how it went for every single color, but I didn't just want to cut out and say, oh yep, just repeat that process this many more times. So you will be able to see, you know, little snippets of every other color. And I am mostly just going to show the head, because on the body I didn't want to have to, you know, move everything over to that. And it's also the same process. I thought it would just look cleaner this way. As you can see here with the body all divided up into sections as well, it has a lot of yarn. Going into this project, I really underestimated how long this was going to take to sew all this yarn on, and how much yarn it would take too. Like, it didn't take the entire ball of yarn, but it did take a pretty sizable amount, to be honest. Also, I am using this picture as a reference. It is from the cardboard cutout of Yarnaby, technically, not like the actual model, because in every single shot it's way too dark to see. So I'm just using this as my color guide. And here I am now adding red-orange on for the next color. Also, for all these shots, I did try to keep the paper background stay. I really should have taped it down in all honesty, but I do keep it down unsecured, so it is going to move around a little. And then here we got orange. It is a much lighter color, especially compared to the red and red-orange, but with all the other colors, it ends up looking good. You're just gonna have to trust the process on this one. I also had to, honestly. And also, with all this yarn, this is what it looks like, and we are 3 colors in. Suffice to say, I was very scared at the time for what this was going to look like. But anyway, we're moving right on to yellow. I mean, I did pack quite a lot of yarn on, and I did realize that about halfway or most of the way through the process, and by then I didn't want to take it all off and start over, so I did keep going with it. So this is a very fluffy and densely packed Yarnaby. Like, looking back at the model, and I think even the toy from the commercial or official toys, it's much more sparse compared to mine. But anyway, moving right on with lime green, and this is actually the only green. I don't know why I'm saying these like these are fun facts, but I guess I'm just trying to keep the video a little interesting. Then moving right along with teal or cyan, or whichever one you want to call it. Either way, it's going on the next slice. I say slice because to me, I always thought of these as pie slices. Then we're moving in with light blue. I don't know why there's like 3 different types of blues on this thing, but there are, and I sewed on each one. Then along to dark blue. And this is actually the last one I recorded for purple, because it was really hard to actually sew on the pieces. So for the last color, which is magenta by the way, I did do that off camera, but by now I do think you have the gist of it. Okay, and here it is. Yarnaby in all his glory. Mostly. I still need to connect the head and the body, which I am going to use hot glue for, because 1, I'm tired of sewing, and 2, it would just be sewing yarn onto yarn. I get this is also gluing yarn onto yarn, but technically I can get much deeper into the crevices with hot glue. And no, this isn't fabric hot glue or anything. I didn't actually have fabric hot glue on hand, so regular hot glue will work. I didn't really see any problems with it anyway. And I definitely should have waited to attach the head before I cut it all off, because yeah, this is literally just me picking up Yarnaby and cutting it from the bottom so I could make sure to get the length I wanted. Little did I know, I would have to cut a lot off, because I did make each yarn piece way too long. Like, if you end up doing this, make sure you make these pieces shorter, like much shorter. I only show a little of the cutting process here because it took a few hours, I'm gonna be honest. I kept finding little imperfections that I wanted to trim up and trim and trim and trim. But eventually, I just had to stop myself because I realized I could keep going forever and it would just not be completely perfect. Part of the way through, I rubber banded off his head so I can cut his mane separately, and this is what it's looking like so far. And this is what the pile of scraps are looking like on my desk. We're not done yet. Once I let out his mane, also by the way the body's still not done, I go back and trim that more, I can go ahead and cut that. And then I got something like this, which again, I went back and trimmed this up too. But I really like how fluffy it is. I just love it. Look at him, you can hold him like a hamburger. I don't know if you could tell the difference in these two clips. They are trimmed. I think I went back in again, cut the yarn some more. It kind of looks like a different version of PJ Pugapillar, I'm gonna be completely honest. And here is the pile of scraps on my desk. There's a whole nother Yarnaby right there. But either way, he's done. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I am really, really sorry for this taking so long. I honestly just had a hit to my motivation. It just tanked. But I think I'm pretty good now, and I can move on to another project. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye!